बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम। डॉक्टर मुनव्वर हुसैन आपकी खिदमत में। बहुत ही इस वक्त अहम लम्हात चल रहे हैं इस्लामाबाद के अंदर। अब्बास इराक़ची साहब पहुंच चुके हैं इस्लामाबाद, और जब ये रिकॉर्डिंग कर रहा हूं तो इस्लामाबाद एयरपोर्ट पे इस्लामाबाद के हुक्काम ने उन्हें रिसीव किया है। और न फकत ये बल्कि वाइट हाउस की जो तर्जुमान है लेविट कैरोलाइन, उन्होंने इस बात का ऐलान किया है कि जनाब स्टीव विटकॉफ और जेरेड कुशनर, जो प्रेसिडेंट ट्रंप के दो एडवाइजर्स हैं, वो तशरीफ ला रहे हैं इस्लामाबाद। और मुमकिनात बहुत ज़्यादा हैं, इम्कानात बहुत ज़्यादा हैं कि इनकी मुलाकात अब्बास अरागची साहब के साथ हो जाए। अदरवाइज अब्बास अरागची साहब का जो विजिट है उसमें उन्होंने रीजनल इसे विजिट करार दिया है, जहाँ पे वो इस्लामाबाद के अंदर तशरीफ लाने का मकसद ये है कि वो जो तासुर था कि ईरानियों का ट्रस्ट नहीं है इस्लामाबाद के अंदर, या ईरानी अब इस्लामाबाद को एज अ मीडिएटर नहीं देख रहे, एक तो वो तकरीबन उड़ जाता है। न फकत ये बल्कि उनका ओमान जाना इस बात का तकाजा करता है कि ओमान जो कि मीडिएशन के अंदर इन्वॉल्व रहा है, सारे बैकग्राउंड को जानता है। और फिर रशिया जाना जो कि स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप है, और सारी सूरत हाल के ऊपर तीनों ममालिक से मुज़ाकरात करना। व्हाइट हाउस का ये कहना है कि चूंकि मोहम्मद बाकिर गालिबाफ साहब तशरीफ नहीं ला रहे, तो इसलिए जेडी वेंस साहब तशरीफ नहीं ला रहे इस्लामाबाद, और व्हाइट हाउस में बैठ के सारी सूरत हाल को देखेंगे। और जैसे ही मोहम्मद बाकिर गालिबाफ तशरीफ लाएंगे पाकिस्तान, तो जेडी वेंस साहब भी इस्लामाबाद के लिए उड़ान भरेंगे। तो असल जो मसला है वो ब्लॉकेट का है, स्टेट ऑफ हॉर्मुज का। बाकी मसाइल मोर और लेस हल हैं पाकिस्तान के अंदर। इस्लामाबाद के अंदर 3 पेजेस का एक प्रपोजल भी तैयार है, तो कम अज कम एक मेमोरेंडम ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग की बातें तो हो सकती हैं। इस पे तफसीलन गुफ्तगू करने के लिए आज मेरे साथ बहुत ही अच्छी अमेरिका कोलोराडो स्प्रिंग की एक यूनिवर्सिटी के साथ ताल्लुक रखने वाली पॉलिटिकल साइंटिस्ट, जिनका नाम मारिया इसाबेल है, जो कि रिसर्चर भी हैं, कंसल्टेंट भी हैं, कोलोराडो स्टेट यूनिवर्सिटी ग्लोबल के अंदर एज अ प्रोफेसर काम कर रही हैं, पॉलिटिकल साइंटिस्ट हैं। सोशोलॉजी के अंदर आपने पीएचडी की हुई है। आपकी स्पेशलाइजेशन जो है वो पॉलिटिकल साइंस, इंटरनेशनल पॉलिटिक्स, यूएस गवर्नमेंट, स्टेट एंड लोकल गवर्नमेंट, सोशल साइंसेज, प्रिंसिपल ऑफ सोशोलॉजी, सोशल प्रॉब्लम्स, रिसर्च मेथड्स इन सोशल साइंसेज, गवर्नेंस, डेमोक्रेसी वगैरह के ऊपर आपने रिसर्च भी की हुई है और पढ़ाया भी है। उनसे जो चीदा चीदा मैंने सवालात इस पॉडकास्ट के अंदर करने जा रहा हूँ, वो भी बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग है, और वो इन हालात को मोरालेस हमें कवर करते हुए नजर आ रहे हैं। जिनमें मेरा पहला सवाल जो उनके साथ होगा वो ये कि ये जो कॉम्प्लेक्स सिचुएशन है, इसको वो किस तरह से देखती हैं। अब्बास इराक़ची साहब तशरीफ ला चुके हैं, जबकि अमेरिकन टीम कल सुबह हफ्ते वाले दिन जब ये पब्लिश होगा तो तशरीफ लाएंगे, वहां से फ्लाई करेंगे अमेरिका से। तो वो इसे, इस डेवलपमेंट को किस निगाह से देखती हैं? क्या देयर इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ एग्रीमेंट या डिसएग्रीमेंट? दूसरा मेरा सवाल होगा कि न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स ने लिखा है कि अमेरिकन जो मिलिट्री कैपेबिलिटी है, स्टॉक पाइल मिसाइल्स का, इंटरसेप्टर्स का है, जिसमें थॉट है, जो तकरीबन टमाहॉक हैं, स्टेल्थ क्रूज मिसाइल हैं, ये सारे के सारे जो है उन्होंने एग्जॉस्ट कर दिए हैं। और तकरीबन अमेरिका की जो अपनी सलाहियत जो उनके पास कम अज कम होनी चाहिए, उसको भी तकरीबन जाया कर चुके हैं, यानी एग्जॉस्ट कर चुके हैं। और बिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स का खर्चा हुआ है, इसकी एक पूरी डिटेल है। तो क्या ये जो एग्जॉशन है स्टॉक पाइल का, जो अमेरिका के दिफा के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है, वो तनकीद का बाइस बनेगा अमेरिका के प्रेसिडेंट डोनाल्ड ट्रंप के ऊपर? तीसरा सवाल यह है कि जो फंडामेंटल चेंजेस इस वक्त हमें नजर आ रही हैं अमेरिका की खारजा पॉलिसी में, वो क्या है और वो क्यों हैं? क्या उन्हें भी ये चेंजेस नजर आ रही हैं, जहां पे स्टेट डिपार्टमेंट, पेंटागन, इंटेलिजेंस जो एजेंसीज हैं उनसे फीडबैक नहीं लिया जा रहा, और प्रेसिडेंट ट्रंप की जो पर्सनल इंस्टिंक्ट है वो ज्यादा हावी नजर आ रही है? और चौथा सवाल मेरा ये है कि प्रॉस्पेक्ट्स क्या हैं इस एग्रीमेंट के यूएस और ईरान के दरमियान में, और इसका जो इम्पैक्ट है प्रेसिडेंट ट्रंप का दौरा चाइना, उस पर क्या पड़ेगा, बिकॉज चाइना इज अ की प्लेयर। और मेरा पांचवा सवाल उनके साथ ये है कि ये जो इंटरनेशनल सिस्टम है, इसकी अब हैयत और नेचर क्या है? बिकॉज पॉलिटिकल साइंटिस्ट इसको डिस्क्राइब करता है इन अ सर्टेन पैराडाइम। यूनिपोलर वर्ल्ड है, ट्राइपोलर वर्ल्ड है, मल्टीपोलर वर्ल्ड है, ऑक्टेगोनल मल्टीपोलर वर्ल्ड है। क्या है ये? और मुख्तलिफ चेस बोर्ड्स पे क्या अलग अलग पोल्स की निशानदेही हो रही है? यूरोप क्या एक अलग पोल के तौर पे उभर रहा है? और मेरा आखिरी सवाल उनके लिए ये होगा कि वो क्या समझती हैं कि पाकिस्तान की जो शटल डिप्लोमेसी है, क्या वो इस वॉर लाइक सिचुएशन को मिडल ईस्ट में मैनेज कर पाएगी, और पॉसिबल सजेशंस पाकिस्तान के लिए उनके पास क्या होगा। सिलसिला बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स है। याद रखें कि इंटरनेशनल पॉलिटिक्स में हमेशा नंबर ऑफ वेरिएबल्स होते हैं, कोई एक वेरिएबल नहीं होता। लिहाजा ये बड़ा कॉम्प्लेक्स होता है इसे समझना। और दूसरा ये है कि बज़ाहिर जो दिखता है वो होता नहीं है, जो होता है वो दिखता नहीं है। बहुत सी चीजें बंद दरवाजों के पीछे कैमरा की आंख से ओझल तेप आती हैं। बज़ाहिर अगर ऊपर के जो ओहदेदार हैं उनकी मिलाप न भी हो, इंटरेक्शन न भी हो, तब भी निचली सतह के ऊपर बातचीत का सिलसिला जारी रखता है और मामलात को तय करने की कोशिश करते हैं। इसका मतलब ये कि इस्लामाबाद की जो खामोश सफारतकारी है उसका कम अज कम इतना असर जरूर हुआ है कि अब्बास इराकची साहब एक छोटी सी टीम के साथ इस्लामाबाद तशरीफ लाए हैं। गो के बज़ाहिर ये दौरा उनका रीजनल ममालिक का दौरा है, और इस्लामाबाद में वो पहला दौरा उनका इस्लामाबाद का और बाकी फिर बाद के ममालिक का। और अगर ये दौरा इस्लामाबाद टॉक्स टू की नेचर में या उसके दायरा कार में नहीं भी आता, तब भी जेरेड कुशनर और स्टीव विटकॉफ का आना ये बतलाता है कि इसका कहीं ना कोई लिंक वहां जाके निकलता है। इसमें मजीद बात करते हैं मारिया इसाबेल से कि वो इस सारी सिचुएशन को कैसे समझती हैं। थैंक यू वेरी मच मारिया, एंड वेलकम इन आवर शो।
Thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure.
Thank you. Maria, we are observing a crisis situation in the Middle East, and Pakistan tried its level best to manage this crisis. But in a one way or the other, President Trump suddenly he takes a decision due to which we see again crisis erupts. And now, because of the blockade of Strait of Hormuz, has created complexity. Though Foreign Minister of Iran has arrived now in Islamabad, and Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, as per the spokesperson of White House, Levitt, Levitt, she said that Levitt Caroline, yes, Levitt Caroline, she announced that they are coming to Pakistan. Is it possible that they might see each other and this crisis may be managed again and negotiations may be revived again?
This is a first step in that direction. I'm not sure they are expecting this particular meeting to be between the foreign affairs minister from Iran and the team the White House sent. My understanding is that they will more likely than not try to narrow the maximalist initial expectations that both sides have, and that's why Pakistan's role here is so critical. Both sides, the U.S. and Iran, have very I wouldn't say radical, but definitely maximalist aspirations that it's a lose-lose starting point from a negotiation perspective. So probably this meeting, that also it has been clarified that they won't be meeting. It will be a back channeling with the Pakistan government facilitating the coordination of messages from one side to the other. That's what we understand. That's why this is so critical.
Maria, what do you think? Why they have this maximalist position? It is for the domestic political consumption, or it is their own understanding what is going on at regional and systemic politics?
Does have a great influence, the domestic view of this issue, especially with the incoming midterm elections. The president hasn't made the case for this conflict. And I think the president was convinced that he was going to make a strike, like this military operation, he seems to be very emboldened by the result in the extraction of Maduro in Venezuela. So he thought this was going to be something similar, and that it would lead to the breakdown of the Iranian regime, which, by the way, any expert would have advised the president that that was not necessarily the outcome. The resilience they have shown, even with all the doubts there are regarding who is the new Ayatollah, is he still alive, all those questions that seem to be unanswered. Even in that scenario, it was likely that it wasn't going to be a sort of surgical intervention like the president apparently was convinced. So I think it is a little bit of, for domestic audiences, but more than the war in Iran, it's more like how do you justify to have done that? And now the midterms are coming, and we have inflation, high gas prices, and a conflict that doesn't seem to be in any manner in closer to a resolution.
Maria, today I was reading New York Times has given one article in which it is mentioned that the US has exhausted almost its stockpile of thwart, Tomahawk, and stealth cruise missile. And they have spent billions of dollars on it. Almost they don't have the stockpile of these weapons for their own defense. So will this generate critique on President Trump in coming days? Because now it is open secret for the American people.
I think it's going to be a problem, but not necessarily right now. There were some concerns a couple of years ago when the Biden administration was trying to shore up to make sure that Ukraine had support from the US. And one of the arguments from the Republican Party was precisely the need to preserve the US capability to defend itself. Right now, the ball is on the current administration side. And I don't know if this is going to be a matter of debate anytime soon. But there is some criticism coming from the Democrats regarding the cost of trying to replace all those munitions, and that's going to be taxpayers' dollars that are going to be used. So I think more than the real concern in terms of the military capability, it's the cost to close that gap, and I think that's the real debate that we're going to have.
Maria, do you see any fundamental changes in the process of policy making under President Trump administration? Usually, policy making takes feedback from the relevant departments. But at this moment, the common observation is that President Trump has ignored all sort of feedback, either from CIA or intelligence organizations or State Department, even from the Pentagon, and therefore, many commanders in the Pentagon, they have resigned and their number has reached up to 34.
A very unique style. He is not a career politician. He is, I think that's his appeal to his base, that he is a man that has certain convictions, and his world views are very different from, an expert, academic, a diplomat. He has a completely different perception of global affairs. And I think his probably his weakness in this case is that not that he doesn't have the best advice that's available. I think he does. But probably he was convinced, like I said at the beginning, that he was going to do this and it was going to be successful and he wasn't going to face any challenges. And now he finds himself in a situation where he can't backpedal anything because he's already in a conflict. And my impression is that he doesn't know how to get out of it. And I think that is a characteristic of his policy making style. That has been something that the president has done in other areas, but it's sort of it really is one of his characteristics.
So businessman is more heavier than the politician, you know. Anyway,
It's personality.
personality, yeah, you're absolutely right. What are the prospects of agreement between the United States of America and Iran and its possible impact on President Trump's visit to China on 14th May 2026?
Well, that's a very tight timetable deadline for the president if he wants to get this solved ahead. I think both sides need. I don't know if there's a possibility for an agreement at this point, but both sides need to at least agree on the terms of the conversation, which is right now unclear. So if they have a way to basically narrow their expectations, that would be a sign of a positive direction. I'm not sure if we are there yet. I don't think so. It doesn't seem like it. However, I don't know how that's going to play with China because China is right now just looking at this situation. And like everybody, like every country, we are feeling the brunt because gas prices are just the beginning of a larger crisis. Everything is going up. Plane tickets, everything that depends, food. We are going to see come summer, we are going to see the consequences of this. It's not just for the US or the Gulf countries. This is something that unfortunately we are all going to pay. And this always hits harder those countries with less financial or economic strength. So I think the problem is that both sides, Iran and the US, have an interest in getting out of this, but I don't know how the president is going to get himself out of this.
Before going to Pakistan, my question is, because being a student of American studies and international politics, we usually use theories and paradigms to describe the current international system. And I believe that we are living in a tripolar world. One pole is led by the United States of America, and its declared partners and strategic partners are India, Israel, and smaller nations like Afghanistan, UAE, and Bahrain. While China is also leading another pole, and its close allies are North Korea, Iran, and Russia. And the third pole, which is in a formative phase, is led by France, by the way, when in South Korean University, Emmanuel Macron mentioned that they are going to adopt a third way. They are not going to be aligned either with the United States or China. And by the way, Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, he also announced that decade-based integrated system, which was supported by Canada, they are just ending that very system. So in your viewpoint, what type of world we are living? It is simple multipolarity or octagonal multipolar world or a tripolar world, which I assume it is a tripolar world.
Multilateralism Day. And I wrote a piece about this precisely because we're starting the process for choosing a new UN secretary. And one of the challenges is the effort of diplomacy and multilateralism over. I do agree there are several nodes or axes, but I think there is an interest in acting or operating in a unilateral sense, especially the US. The Trump corollary has brought us a complete shift. It's a new paradigm. And I think that this is moving other countries to understand that, well, people are being forced to deal with problems on their own. Let's just look at how the USA dismantling has created a different type of relationship where each one needs to negotiate on a one-on-one basis. That is a complete transformation shift from the multilateral approach to a unilateral approach. So I would think that, yes, there are those axes or groups, but the policy-making process is more like looking into a unilateral approach.
Since we know that Pakistan is putting its hard efforts to manage this crisis, and Pakistan is carrying on this shuttle diplomacy, telephonic diplomacy. The favorite field marshal is very much engaged in that process. Prime Minister Shehbaz, Foreign Minister Isabel, they are trying their level best to manage it. What policy suggestions would you recommend to Pakistan or the possible scenarios of the current situation in the days to come?
Pakistan is playing a critical role, especially with the, I think it's inevitable to assess that this decision by the President of the United States has somehow affected. It has had an impact on his allies in the Gulf, among the Gulf states. And this is something that we understand is a very serious situation. The president will eventually, after this conflict gets resolved, the president will need to mend his relationship with the Gulf states who have been who have faced direct impact from this conflict. And thanks to Pakistan, there is a channel that allows for communication. Otherwise, it would be impossible because both sides have clearly shown distrust to the other. So you cannot negotiate under those circumstances. And I would say that Pakistan is not only playing a critical role, but it is only a very difficult one because a broker, a mediator, needs to bring both sides to at least agree on what is it that they are going to discuss. And right now, it seems that both sides understand that the more they wait for this, the harder it's going to be to get out of this. And yet we see that Pakistan has the trust of both sides to keep doing this. Although I think this is an opportunity for diplomacy to take the lead. And that's what we see here.
Thank you very much, Maria, for your time and sharing your analysis, wonderful analysis. In fact, it is a learning experience. Your participation in our show is really appreciated, and hope in future again, we will invite you on some different topic, and we hope that this crisis, inshallah, will be managed. There would be stability and peace in our region, and global economy would be revived again, hopefully.
Let's hope for the best. Thank you so much. It was great joining your show. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.